This is the Washington Times front page for Tuesday, November 15th, 2022. Thanks for joining us. I'm George Gerbo. President Biden and Chinese President Xi Jinping sought to thaw tensions between their nations during a nearly 3-hour meeting on the sidelines of the Group of 20 summit. Jeff Murdoch and Joseph Clark report it was the first in-person meeting of the two leaders since Biden took office and his most consequential move during a 7-day overseas trip. The talks in Bali, Indonesia underscored several points of contention, including policies on Taiwan and North Korea. The highly anticipated meeting began with low expectations of easing tensions in a competition between the U.S. and China for military and economic influence. Biden left the meeting downplaying any notion of conflict. He said he thinks the two nations can work together on global issues. Chinese officials issued a summary that described the meeting as thoroughgoing, frank, and constructive. Bill Gertz provides his analysis of the sit-down between the leaders. The dynamic of the meeting, preceded by a warm handshake, quickly became clear. The American president sought a return to greater bilateral engagement, while the Chinese leader bluntly warned the United States to back off and not cross its red lines regarding Taiwan and other issues. According to the official White House readout, Biden emphasized avoiding conflict with what analysts say is an increasingly aggressive China. The message: the U.S. does not want a new Cold War in Asia and is seeking to turn down the temperature through more talks and re-engagement aimed at easing tensions. Xi said the world is facing a historical turning point and demanded the United States accept China's communist system and his drive to rejuvenate his nation. Google has agreed to pay a $391.5 million settlement to 40 states to resolve accusations that it tracked people's locations in violation of state laws. Ryan Lovelace reports the settlement is part of a series of legal challenges to big tech in the U.S. and around the world, which include consumer protection and antitrust lawsuits. The states began investigating Google's location tracking after the Associated Press reported in 2018 that Android devices and iPhones were storing location data despite the activation of privacy settings intended to prevent that from happening. Though Google, based in Mountain View, California, said it fixed the problem several years ago, the company's critics remain skeptical. State attorneys general who have tussled with Google have questioned whether the tech company will follow through on its commitments. You can read all of these stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page. You can also find our entire lineup of news, commentary, and sports podcasts at WashingtonTimes.com/podcasts. Former President Trump is preparing for an announcement about a 2024 White House run despite disappointing midterm election results that have sowed turmoil among Republicans and tested his grip on the party. Underscoring the second guessing about the direction of the GOP, Susan Ferricchio reports Trump's potential rivals for the Republican nomination have signaled they won't be getting out of the way. The 76-year-old appears to have rejected calls from within the party and even from close aides to delay an official announcement into the race. Many GOPers say Trump endorsed flawed candidates who lost races in swing states that cost the party the Senate and much bigger Republican gains in the House. And finally, immigrant rights activists will descend on Washington this week to urge Democrats to take advantage of what may be their last remaining weeks of total control of Congress to pass a broad legalization bill for illegal immigrants. Stephen Dinan reports activists see a window of opportunity after Republicans ran hard on stricter border enforcement as an issue in the elections and failed to produce the political red wave that they anticipated. The last time Congress passed a major legalization bill was in 1986, and it's been more than 20 years since even smaller legalization passed on Capitol Hill. Find all of today's front page stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page or on the Washington Times app, and find us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Washington Times in any major podcast app. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at Wash Times for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. For the Washington Times, I'm George Gerbo.